Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to Three Charts in One with me, Richard Perry, market analyst for Infonox on Friday the 21st of October. Now we've had the resignation of UK Prime Minister Truss, so we're looking at cable today. Initially also going to be looking at the silver price and the outlook for commodities, and also looking at equity markets with the DAX. So straight into it with this sterling dollar chart. Well, what we saw yesterday was, well, the political turmoil in the UK has been incredible. I'll put it on the 4-hour chart. We can see what happened initially yesterday. We actually saw a rebound on sterling dollar, but that's quickly faded, and since then overnight it's just been drifting back lower again. And generally speaking, I think that sterling remains under pressure. You've got so many negative aspects to the UK economy. Retail sales came out today much worse than expected, so it's just entry after entry on the data front of negativity. Sort of the outlook for the UK economy is terrible, so UK sterling is going to remain under pressure to the downside, and this political turmoil doesn't help in any way at all. And what we've seen is continued selling into strength. Now, 113.90 to 114.50, this resistance here, 114.50, basically, interestingly enough, 114.50 was the low that we saw on the, where is it, this one here, which was the point at which we saw Liz Truss taking over as Prime Minister. That was the reaction high in October, and that is obviously now key resistance overhead. But we still obviously also see that rallies are fading. So essentially, you could argue we're in a little bit of a ranging phase. But essentially, also, I think that this is a rally into resistance and it's going to be sold off. And I think that retesting 109.25 was the reaction low. I think retesting that is likely to be seen in due course. We've got the sort of drifting over of this 4-hour RSI, now back underneath 50 again. I think if the market sort of falls below that 111.50 reaction low that we saw was on the 13th, so that's just over a week ago, then that's going to reopen the lows again of 109.25. So it just looks as though it's a sell into strength sterling dollar. It's all these rallies continue to fade at lower levels, and yeah, I think it's pressure towards the 110 big figure area, and then below that in due course is what we're going to see on cable. On silver, we've seen a sharp move to the downside, a bit of a sort of volatility range over the past week, really. Some wild fluctuating candles on a daily basis. Again, we saw a rebound that was faded yesterday, and again this morning it looks as though the market's falling over. I've stuck in this little area of resistance here. We can see it on the 4-hour chart. This is an area of resistance. Obviously, there is a potential base pattern really on a near-term basis. If we can get back above, let's get the crosshair. If it can get back above the sort of $19 area, 19.10 of resistance to sort of really confirm that. If it gets above that, then you are talking about recovery territory, and that would also see the 4-hour RSI above 50. So again, that would be recovery territory. But it's just not doing that at the moment. It is just basically doing this over the past week, where it's just moving sideways. I tend to see this as still a sell into strength. I see all these moving averages falling over and sort of going out one more level. You can see this sort of attraction towards the reaction lows that we've seen, sort of 18.10, maybe below that, sort of around the 17.90 area. It's sort of got a reaction towards that, and it's sort of falling over on that RSI on the daily as well. So you sort of look at that and you think, well, this is still a sell into strength, I believe. And these sort of moving averages falling over as well. So, in terms of a medium-term range, you've sort of got a reaction towards the bottom of that range in that. So I'm still looking at selling into strength, but obviously if it gets back above 19.10, then that's sort of plays for the recovery once more. But at the moment, it's struggling to do so, and it's looking still as though it is a sell into strength. And finally, on to the German DAX. Well, I'm sort of looking at this at the moment thinking this is a pivot band here that is really important. It sort of became a basis of resistance. You broke out above that, and it then came to test that resistance, test that support. And it's around this sort of 12,700, 12,600 area, and breaking underneath 12,600 would really, I think, end that aspect of support. And you'd see also that the daily RSI would then fall back under 50, and then you sort of back into the sort of drift lower territory again. And this recovery that we've seen on the DAX, I still would be looking at this as a near-term rally into resistance. Go back a few levels, you can see the amount of times that this downtrend has sort of taken hold as the resistance. So it is a good basis where, see, that's up in 13,200 area. But I still think, looking at this, you'd say that this is a rally into a rally that's a near-term move that's likely to fade in due course. We've got the daily RSI, which has just sort of fallen over again at that sort of 60 mark, which is where we saw back in September. So again, looking at that sort of bias there, I still think this is a sell into strength, and moving back underneath the sort of 12,600, 12,550 area. I think that starts to see the move to the downside. You then open 12,350, and then obviously the reaction lows are just underneath 12,000. So I wish you good luck in your trading today, and I will speak to you soon.